Yesterday was the perfect college football game for me, or perfect college football Saturday for me as a fan. Um, Iowa and Florida State won their games. Iowa State, Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Florida, and Miami, Florida, all lost yesterday. So it was a good day in the college football world for me as a fan. I will start with they both played at 2:30, and I did not watch the Iowa game because I do not have the Peacock app. I know it's only like $6, but the whole thing just makes me mad. So I watched it on the ESPN Gamecast or whatever it's called. Wasn't much to watch for what it sounds like. I think at halftime, Iowa had 81 yards and Northwestern had 25 yards, if I'm not mistaken. So ugly play. It was 0-0 at halftime. Iowa wins 10-7 on a 52-yard field goal. They scored their touchdown thrown to, I believe he's a freshman tight end. He's going to be good, not just because he caught a touchdown pass yesterday, but he's got the size and he's going to be a good tight end for him. But yeah, last week I said Northwestern was going to pound them. I said that Northwestern's quarterback was going to have success running the ball because Iowa's defense struggles against mobile quarterbacks. And they didn't have much trouble with them at all. They had that goal line stand 4 plays from the 1 yard line and didn't let them in. They blocked a punt, and that's how they scored that touchdown to the tight end. What else happened? Sounds like Deacon Hill is just terrible. All he can do is pass. Obviously, he's too big to scramble, and he's not a good passer. So we got to figure that out. I did see the pass he threw to Caleb Brown. That was Caleb Brown's first catch of the year in the 9th game of the year. When he said he was transferring to Iowa, the Iowa fan base went crazy. They thought our offense was going to, have this dynamic weapon. And the 9th game of the year, I think he missed 1 or 2 games, but still, 9th game of the year, and he's getting his first catch. Now, it was a big catch. It was a good throw. Deacon Hill threw it in between under coverage and a guy over the top. He placed it nice, and Caleb Brown caught it, put a move on to get him in closer to field goal range. So that was a good play. If they could do that more often, I think Iowa fans would be happier. They'd have a chance. They'd put more points up, yada, yada. I think next week they play Rutgers at home, which that'll be tough for them. Rutgers is pretty good in the sense that if Rutgers were in the Big Ten West, they would win it easily, I think, this year. Maybe not easily, but they would be in first place right now. Um, Iowa's lucky they get them at home, but they've got to play out of their minds to win this game. I think this is, I think they can afford to lose one game. Maybe they can't afford to lose any. Um, who am I kidding? They can't afford to lose any. They can't take any for granted. They probably won't be favored in too many games, but um, I think they can still lose this game and still get to the Big Ten championship somehow. They don't want to do that. They want to control their own destiny. They want to win the next game and go on to the next one. They can't worry about, as long as you win, everything else takes care of itself. That's the position they're in, and that's what they should be thinking. But um, me as a fan, I can think about those things. But anyway, they play Rutgers at home next week. I think it's an early game, which I'm fine with. But yeah, it should be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how our defense plays against Rutgers offense. Rutgers offense is decent. I've seen them play, and they look pretty good. So it'll be a good test for them. We'll see what happens on offense. I do like that tight end 87, Estranga or something. Um, I don't know what's going on with Caleb Johnson. I mean, is he hurt? Is he wanting to transfer? Like what the? Um, oh yeah, Iowa and Florida State played at the same time, 2:30 time slot. I watched the Florida State game because I did not watch the Iowa game because it was on the Peacock app. Florida State was on ESPN, so I watched that game at Pitt at 2:30, and they came out and just looked sluggish. I thought I made a mental note that is it Ja'Kai Douglas? He was a good microcosm of how the entire team played. Like they threw him back there for punt returns, and he didn't. The first three that were punted to him, he didn't even attempt to catch him. He wasn't even close. He waved him off, and lost Florida State's offense big time field position. The first punt bounced like 15, 20 yards down inside the 5, if I'm not mistaken. But the others he didn't even attempt to catch. One was at like if he caught it, it would have been at midfield instead of bounced to like the 40 inside the 40-yard line. Like, what is he doing? Put Williamson back there. Put put Renardo Green back there. He can play. Don't be putting Ja'Kai Douglas back there if he's not going to do shit and cost the team. Like, there's a cost benefit to every player out there. Get him off the field. And I know Keon will be back next week, but Jesus Christ, like, and maybe he didn't want to bang those guys up, so he just threw that guy up there. I don't know. They're 8-0 now. I'm sorry, I keep yawning. It's really 11 o'clock. They're 8-0, so what do I know, right? Like, the coaching staff clearly knows what they're doing, but they just look sluggish coming out of the gate. The defense, they got the ball in the opening kickoff and they drove the length of the field. And then on 3rd and like 3 from the 4-yard line, they ran some stupid ass pass play. Then on 4th and 3 or whatever, 4th and 2 from the 3, they ran another terrible play and turned the ball over. Yesterday, I saw an egregious amount of horrible play calls inside the 10 or 5-yard line, as well as on 4th and short. Just horrible play calls. USC had one. I think Oklahoma had a bad one. Like these offensive coordinators get paid an insane amount of money, and something's working. Like with USC and Washington, in the 3rd quarter, both teams had over 20 carries and both were averaging 10 plus yards per carry. And USC runs like a play action, a slow developing play action It's like, what are you doing? You needed 1 or 2 yards, hand the ball off, and you were gonna get 6 to 10 yards guaranteed. Um, but Florida State looks sluggish. Uh, Pitt actually scored first, and then they were gonna go up 14 nothing. And if you haven't seen this play by uh, Fintrail Cypress, he gives up a big pass play. Pitt was buried at their own 18-yard line. They threw the ball to like the 50. He catches it, takes off. You think he's got an easy touchdown. Cypress runs, catches him, punches the ball out like the half yard right before he's about to cross the goal line. And then Florida State recovers, I believe. Of course they recovered to save the touchdown and have the ball. So it was a huge play. So hats off to Fintrail Cypress for not giving up on the play, hustling, really swinging the tide back in Florida State's favor. So trying to think of how they scored their first touchdown. I know Benson had that run, and Marquiston Douglas had that catch, but I think those were both the second half. Yeah, I can't remember how they scored their first touchdown. Anyway, they won 24-7. I thought they played way better in the first half. They could have easily kept their 30 points a game scored or more streak going, but at the end there, Norvell just had them kneel, and that was the game. So 24-7. Didn't look great, but they won. That's all you care about in the end. I've always said that Florida can't travel north. And that's not an excuse. It's just reality. I've seen it for too many years. So they get out of there with the win. They go home. It was some were calling it a trap game. I think that is an excuse because they do play Miami at home next week, next Saturday at 2:30 on ABC. This game always scares me. And I love this game, but it's always been a sore subject to me. I mean, those wide right games were in my prime. I mean, we were number one, number two. They were number one, number two, number three, number five, whatever in the top 10 for sure. Usually in the top five, both teams, and we had them beat, and we just kicked the field goal right, left. Those ones still sting to this day, but 2 years ago or last year, was it? Florida State scores that touchdown with no time on fourth down. That pass in the middle, that was a wild play. There's been some great games in this rivalry. Dalvin Cook going ham on them in Tallahassee and down in Dade County. When Peter Warrick was there, I mean, they played so many good games in the rain when they were just hammering each other. For in the 2000 teens, Florida State had a streak of like 6, I think, where they won 6 games in a row. They gotta play well this week. It's at home, which is an advantage. I wish it was a night game, but it's at home in the afternoon. We'll see. To get to the playoff, to get to the national title game, to win, you got to beat all these good teams. That's what anybody can beat anybody on any given day. That's why they play the games. College football is one of the craziest sports in that sense, and I think that's why I like it the best. But anyway, especially in a rivalry game, anything goes. So they just have to play a good game in every aspect. It helps getting Keon back. I don't know if Johnny Wilson will be back. I hope so, but I said last week I want him to put Hakeem out there with Keon. So put Johnny if he's back, Keon and Hakeem in the slot, or I don't know. I think Keon in the. I don't know which. Yeah, I don't know. That would be a problem. And if not, I would go Keon, Hakeem, and Montier, maybe. I don't know. Williamson. I'm not sure who I would have in there as the third receiver. But Benson looks good. Tolafili fumbled early and gave Pitt a lot of momentum. They can't afford that. Hill looked good. He ran over like 3 or 4 defenders, just trucked right through them, which if you haven't seen the NFL, I hate the NFL. They find some running back because he trucked the defender. Find him like $9,300 and they find a receiver for can't remember what they fined him for, but he literally didn't touch anybody on the defense. He ran like a curl route in the defender's way, but did not touch the defender, and they fined him for unnecessary roughness or some bullshit. So strange things going on in the NFL. It's a terrible product these days. Anyway. Yeah, Benson always looks good. He'll look good. Tolafili, he's just got to come to play. They got to use him in spots. Keziah Holmes looked good when he got in there at the end. He could have easily scored a touchdown there to make it 31-7. But yeah, on the defensive side, I already talked about Cypress. Hussey got a pick. I think that's his second on the year, which is crazy because he doesn't play that often, but he looks really good. He'll be fun to watch. Deloach had a good game. Bethune had a solid game. Verse was okay. He played hard. Knowles did all right. Did Jarian play? I felt like I didn't see him, but he certainly could have played. Green got scored on, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he got scored on. First time I think somebody scored a receiving touchdown on him this year. But yeah, they got to come to play next week. It'll be interesting to see if Miami throws Van Dyke out there for quarterback or if they go to somebody else. I think they'll go to somebody else, shake it up a little bit. That Fletcher guy is good for Miami on the running back, and then they got to stop George, number 3 on the outside, the receiver. He's quick. He's good. Both those guys are good. TVD is just a bonehead. I think Florida State has the better in the trenches, both sides of it. But those guys, it's a rivalry game. They got to come to play, and then the star players need to show out. They need to play well. That's why they went to these schools for these types of games. So now it's go time. So I'm looking forward to it. It always makes me nervous, but I'm looking forward to this game on Saturday. Yeah. Let's see the other games, what I was watching. All right, so 11 o'clock games. Arkansas beat Florida overtime, 39-36. Florida was wearing their all-black uniforms. KJ Jefferson had a pretty good game, 255 and 2 touchdowns. Rocket Sanders had 103 yards on 18 carries. Armstrong for the Razorbacks had 3 catches for 103 yards. When Florida State plays Florida at Florida, they need to stop ETN. He's good, and they go to him a lot, as well as not Restrepo. He's on Miami. The white dude receiver for the Gators, whatever his name is, Ricky Pearsall. They got to stop that dude. Yeah, Arkansas goes to the Swamp and beats Florida 39-36 in OT. They scored a touchdown and Florida did not. Wow. Was 17-17 at halftime. North Carolina stomps Campbell 59-7 to move to 7-2. Florida's 5-4 and Arkansas's 3-6. South Carolina barely beat Jacksonville State 38-28 at home. Jacksonville State is good. They're now 7-3, but they could have easily won that game. A couple of plays go a different way, and Jacksonville State goes to South Carolina and beats them, but nope. South Carolina holds on to 38-28. Speaking of holding on, Texas beat K-State 33-30. When I was talking about horrible play calling inside the 10-yard line and on fourth down, K-State fits that bill. They had terrible 3 plays on one drive inside like the 5-yard line, and then on that drive, the fourth down play was just terrible. Terrible. And then in overtime, when they went for it, or back inside the 10, they had another 3 bad plays. And on fourth down, I don't even know what that play was. They ran 2 guys, like flooding the very short side of the field. He wasn't even looking the other way. It was just a bad play call. And they lost 30-33. Texas is now 8-1, K-State 6-3. Interesting note, when Kansas State scored their last touchdown, Texas on the extra point, Texas clearly jumped offside, but they snapped the ball like as it was happening, kicked the ball, and the extra point was good. That put them up 31-30. To my understanding, it would be like any other play, whereas if the defense jumps offside, but the ball was snapped, it's a free play. They're either going to get the $5, the 5-yard penalty, or if the play results in yardage greater than 5 yards, they're going to take that, but it's kind of a free play. It doesn't matter if you throw an interception, fumble, doesn't matter. But anyway, K-State took the penalty, moved in a half-yard closer, and I think they went for 2. Yeah, they went for 2 and didn't get it. Going for 2 there made 0 sense. I think that's what happened. I don't know. Maybe he missed it. He might have missed it. Now that I'm thinking back, but either way, it did make sense that they declined the penalty. Never take points from your kicker off the board. That's special teams coaching 101. But anyway, they would have won the game in regulation probably, or would have been a different series of events that happened. K-State would have gone into Texas and upset them, but I'm sure their fan base is questioning Kleinman now. I think they still like him. They're still 6-3, but they should have won that game, in my opinion. I don't know how long Ewers is out for, but Texas definitely needs him back. I know they go to play Iowa State here in the next couple weeks. It may be next week. I'm not sure. One that surprised me, Clemson at home beats Notre Dame 31-23. Hartman looked horrible all game. He just looked rattled. He couldn't set his feet. He wasn't making quick decisions, nor good decisions when he did throw the ball. He didn't scramble well. With that being said, his 26-yard scramble to score, that was nice. I thought he could have used his legs a lot more. But, yeah, Notre Dame just did not look good. Clemson was fired up for it. They win 31-23. Clemson's 5-4. Notre Dame is 7-3. Michigan State at home, they beat Nebraska 20-17. Michigan State had a running back, or like a slot receiver, that looked really good. He looked really quick and shifty. I don't remember him playing against Iowa, but they upset Nebraska 20-17. Michigan State's 3-6. Nebraska is 5-4. Ohio State struggled with Rutgers for a while, but they ended up winning 35-16. Actually, it was longer than a while. Rutgers was up 9-7 at halftime. Could have been a lot more. They had the ball in the red zone 3 different times, but only had 3 field goals, if I'm not mistaken. Um, yeah, so it could have been 21. It could have been 17-7 at halftime. Rutgers up, but they got the ball on the second half kickoff, drove the field, length of the field, inside the 20-yard line. They throw, Ohio State deflects the pass, kind of a crazy play, picks it off. Another guy picks it off and takes it to the house like 90 yards, 90 some yards. So changed the whole game. Ohio State wins 35-16. They remain undefeated and number one. Rutgers moves to 6-3. We got to stop their running back. He had 24 carries for 159 yards. Ole Miss escapes Texas A&M. They win 38-35. Texas A&M's another team that made head-scratching play calls when inside the 10-yard line and on fourth down. Texas A&M missed a field goal to tie it up at the end. Ole Miss is 8-1. Texas A&M is 5-4. Tennessee and UConn, for some reason, they have this weird rivalry and talking shit to each other, the players and the fans. Tennessee is clearly the dominant team in this series, and they win 59-3. It was 35-0 at halftime, and 56-0 after three quarters. UConn's 1-8 and Tennessee is 7-2. Let's not look into it much deeper than that, folks. Indiana upsets Wisconsin 20-14. That one shocked me. Indiana's quarterback Sorsby is decent. I mean, he's a gamer. Wisconsin did not look good. They were missing Braylon Allen and Mordecai, and yeah, they're 5-4 now, and Indiana is 3-6. Sam Houston beats Kennesaw State 24-21. That's Sam Houston's first win of the year to move them into 1-8. Utah throttles Arizona State 55-3. Utah is 7-2. Arizona State is 2-7. Georgia Tech pounds Virginia 45-17. Georgia Tech is 5-4. Virginia is 2-7. Temple beats Navy 32-18. Temple is 3-6. Navy's 3-5. Upset of the day, maybe. Army beats undefeated Air Force 23-3, and it was 23-3 at halftime, handing Air Force their first loss of the year. Army is now 3-6, so big upset in the military game there. Excuse me, in the Armed Forces game. UAB squeaks by Florida Atlantic 45-42. UAB's 3-6. FAU is 4-5. Memphis beats South Florida 59-50. Wow. It was 28-35 at halftime. Memphis is 7-2. South Florida is 4-5. Texas San Antonio beats North Texas 37-29. UTSA is 6-3. North Texas is 3-6. Arkansas State beats Louisiana 37-17. Arkansas State is 5-4. Louisiana is 5-4. Coastal Carolina beats Old Dominion 28-24. Coastal Carolina is 6-3. Old Dominion is 4-5. Pittsburgh Florida State remains unbeaten and beats Pittsburgh 24-7. Houston goes to Baylor and beats them 25-24 in overtime. They went for two in overtime and got it to beat Baylor at home. Houston is now 4-5. Baylor is 3-6. Illinois hilariously beats Minnesota 27-26. Minnesota in all their really, I just can't stand PJ Fleck and most of their fan base. I shouldn't say that. Like Every fan base has rotten eggs, including Iowa, including Florida State. Every fan base does, right? Minnesota just like they're like just some of them, right? Most of them are good people. I work with people from Minnesota, and they're all outstanding people. Anyway, it's hilarious that Minnesota lost. They could have taken a leg up on the Big Ten West, who's horrible. I'm not saying they're good, but instead they lose at home to Illinois. Minnesota is now 5-4. Illinois is 4-5. PJ Fleck deserves all the hate that he should get after this loss because he is a fraud. I know they just beat Iowa on the scoreboard, but they did not beat Iowa on the field. Fuck what you say. Yeah. Anyway, Iowa goes to Wrigley Field and beats Northwestern 10-7, 0-0 at halftime. Iowa is now 7-2, and Northwestern is 4-5. James Madison remains undefeated. I thought Georgia State was going to upset them. James Madison beats Georgia State 42-14. UMass beats Merrimack 31-21. Georgia beats Missouri 30-21. I thought Missouri was going to upset them. That game was at home. Missouri's now 7-2, and Georgia is 9-0. The last bedlam, Oklahoma State knocks off Oklahoma 27-24. Oklahoma State is now 6-2, and Oklahoma is 7-2. Maryland whoops on Maryland, Penn State whoops on Maryland 51-15. Tulane goes to East Carolina and beats them 13-10. Tulane is 8-1, and East Carolina is 1-8. It's 10-10 at halftime. East Carolina was up 10-0 after the first. UCF beats Cincinnati 28-26 on the road. UCF is 4-5. Cincinnati is 2-7. Louisville they moved to 8-1 by beating Va Tech 34-3. Auburn goes to Vanderbilt and wins 35-15. They're 5-4. Vanderbilt is 2-8. Charlotte goes to Tulsa and beats them 33-26. Both teams are 3-6. Hawaii goes to Nevada and beats them 27-14. Hawaii is now 3-7, and Nevada is 2-7. Southern Miss moves to 2-7 by beating Louisiana Monroe, who falls to 2-7. They win that game 24-7. Texas State beats Georgia Southern 45-24. Both teams are now 6-3. Oregon beats the snot out of Cal 63-19. It was 14-10 after the first quarter, and then 35-13 at halftime. Wow. Liberty remains undefeated at 9-0 by beating Louisiana Tech 56-30. App State beat Marshall 31-9. App State is 5-4. Marshall's 4-5. New Mexico State moves to 7-3 by beating Middle Tennessee 13-7. Middle Tennessee is now 2-7. UNLV moves to 7-2. Keep an eye on them by beating New Mexico 56-14. New Mexico's 3-6. West Virginia beats BYU 37-7. West Virginia moves to 6-3, and BYU moves to 5-4. Kansas goes to Ames, Iowa, and beats the Cyclones 28-21. Kansas is now 7-2, and Iowa State is 5-4. Utah State beats San Diego State 32-24. Utah State is 3-5. San Diego State is 3-6. Michigan at home, amongst all the controversy, beats Purdue 41-13. Purdue scored a very late touchdown there in the last few seconds, I believe. Michigan is 9-0. Purdue is 2-7. SMU beats Rice in the Battle of never mind. Right, Rice is in Houston. I thought it was in Dallas. Southern Methodist University beats Rice 36-31. SMU is now 7-2. Rice is 4-5. Kentucky goes to Mississippi State and beats them 24-3. Kentucky is 6-3. Mississippi State is 4-5. Washington goes to USC in the Coliseum and beats them 52-42. Washington is 9-0. USC is 7-3. I'll say this: I watched a good portion of this game. Neither team played a down of defense at all. Washington's running back had 26 carries for 256 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, it was 35-28 at halftime. Wow. Alabama holds court at home and beats LSU 42-28. That game was close. It was 21-21 at halftime. Jalen Daniels, not sure. Yeah, he went out with an injury. He got smashed. He was having a good game with his legs. He had 11 carries for 163 yards and 1 touchdown. Damn. Neighbors had 10 catches for 171 yards and 1 touchdown, had a big drop there. Milrow had 20 carries for 155 yards and 4 touchdowns. Wow. So combined, the quarterbacks ran for over 300 yards and had 5 touchdowns in 30 carries. Pretty impressive. NC State upsets Miami 20-6. NC State is 6-3. Miami 6-3. Stanford goes to Washington State and beats them 10-7. So same score as Iowa Northwestern, but nobody's giving them flack, huh? Stanford moves to 3-6. Washington State, who I thought was going to be better, is 4-5. Western Kentucky goes to UTEP and beats them 21-13. Western Kentucky's 5-4. UTEP is 3-7. Fresno State beats Boise State at home 37-30. Fresno's 8-1. Fresno State is 8-1. Boise State is 4-5. Colorado Shine gets a little rustier. Oregon State goes to Boulder and beats them 26-19. It really wasn't that close. It was 20-5 after 3. Oregon State's now 7-2. Colorado is 4-5. Arizona, who is good, I've been telling people this, they beat UCLA 27-10, and it really wasn't close. Arizona is 6-3, and UCLA is 6-3. Boston College goes to Syracuse and beats them 17-10. Boston College is 6-3, and Syracuse is 4-5. Wyoming beats Colorado State 24-15. Texas Tech beats TCU 35-28. Both those teams are now 4-5. Troy beats South Alabama 28-10. Duke barely beats Wake Forest 24-21. And Bowling Green beat Ball State 24-21. Akron beats Kent State 31-27 in the battle of 1-7 teams. Central Michigan beats Northern Illinois and Rocky Lombardi from right down the street, 37-31. And Toledo beats Buffalo 31-13. Toledo is now 8-1. Let's look at next week's schedule. And then I'm going to bed tired. I'm going to go let the dog out real fast, actually. Actually, that's it. Maybe I'll make another video later this week about the games coming up this week. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm tired. We'll see y'all later.